What is up, my people? Welcome back to Punch with SK. Today, we're going to talk about UFC 296 and Matchmaking Mondays, which is a new little series I'm going to do every Monday where I give out a couple fights that I'd love to see and why. So, without further ado, we're going to jump right back into UFC 296 and just talk about the main card from top to bottom. Bryce Mitchell, Josh Emmett. I picked Bryce Mitchell just because I thought he might be able to get him. He might wrestle, grapple a little bit, but I also said that his distance management, his timing might be slightly off. So when you're fighting against a power puncher, your distance and timing cannot be off. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw one of the most brutal KOs that I can remember. I really don't remember somebody convulsing and shaking like Bryce Mitchell, which was a scary sight to see, especially if you're not a seasoned watcher of any sort of mixed martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, whatever it may be. It was not nice to watch. Now, the issue is, what do we do with him? Where does Josh Emmett go from here? Where does Bryce Mitchell go from here? That's something I might talk about in future episodes on Matchmaking Mondays. Next fight, Tony Ferguson, Paddy Pimblett, and this fight went the way I exactly expected it to go. Didn't think it was going to be overly lopsided. I did think Paddy was going to do a little bit better, but I also expected Tony to just be Tony and not give up, have that heart of a lion. But over the years, Tony kept saying, I don't spar, and I didn't believe it. I honestly didn't believe it. I thought, I don't really spar that hard. I still do drills with people, but this just kind of showed that he might not actually be sparring just because his distance, his timing, his scrambling, it just didn't look like the old Tony Ferguson, which I understand he's getting older. He's at his twilight of his career. I can understand that, but I think he could have done more. I honestly think Tony could have won that fight. I think Tony could have proved to us that he could have, been like, hey, you see, I can win a fight against a young, hungry up-and-comer who's also not been on the trajectory a lot of people wanted him to be on. They wanted him to be a superstar, which he is socially. But fighting-wise, I think he still has a lot of things to do. But I'm honestly excited to see where his career takes him. And as Dana White said, I would like to see Tony just either hang it up or maybe one more fight. And that's it. Just kind of a farewell tour for him, just because he's a legend of the sport. I have nothing bad to say. He used to be one of my favorite fighters back in the day, but I think it's time, and we love and respect Tony. No Tony slander here. Next fight, Savv Kattar and Wonderboy. I don't think people understand how meticulous and technical Savv Kattar is. Everyone I was with watching the fight saying Savv Kattar's boring, like he's just, kind of grinding it out, this, that. He's not doing much. He's not a boring fighter. But then I'm like, he has 17 finishes in 17 fights, now 18, I believe. It's 100% finish rate. Tell me somebody who's done that. That's unbelievable. Especially against someone who's never been submitted like Wonderboy. I know he's older, so we can make that excuse, but at the end of the day, that's still the first one. 10 years later, nobody's going to be looking back saying, oh, that was when he was older. It's just going to say he submitted. He's the first to submit, or maybe the only to submit, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Getting back to how technical and meticulous he is, his game plan, he stuck to it to a T. Grind him out, tire him out, and finish him. And I think I don't even know how to overestimate. We just don't realize how good he is. I know he had a tough fight. His last fight with Jeff Neal, when he got hit a lot and took a lot of damage, he still finished him. But man, he does know what to do. And I'd love to see him step up. And that is why I have a fight with him in my Matchmaking Mondays, which is going to follow the recap of this. So wait for that. Next, we had the first title fights, Pantoja and Brandon Royval. Fantastic fight. Both fighters are dogs. Pantoja, he is such a good wrestler. He's such a good grappler. He's so fun to watch. And Brandon Royval is really fun to watch too. He, at some points, looked like he wasn't doing well, but then all of a sudden he'd do 3 times as well. It was a fantastic fight. And once again, I have some options for these guys I'd love to see, because I kind of want to see this featherweight division, this 125 division, just get it kicked up, because they are not featherweight. Sorry, that's my excuse. That's flyweight. But I want see that division get a little bit more interesting again, because Figgy and Brandon Moreno were holding up for a while. So there was a lot of lish last year going back and forth. But now I think we got some exciting fights. And for the final fight of the night, which we had Leon Edwards and Colby Covington, I thought Colby was going to win because I thought we were going to see the Colby of old. But we saw Colby of new that we've never seen before. Do we chalk that up to Colby not being prepared, getting old, or do we chalk that up to Leon being just significantly better of a fighter? And ever since he's became a champion, has he just kind of calmed down and let the fights come to him instead of having to force the fights? Because when you're on an 11 fight win streak, you're forcing fights, you're this, that, you kind of get anxious trying to get that title shot. And honestly, I think it's a mixture of both. I think Leon is just that good. And once again, I even said he's one of my favorite fighters and I picked against him. I'm never picking against Leon Edwards again. Never. That was stupid of me. I don't even know what I thought. I just thought we might see something a little bit more interesting, a dogfight. Colby being chaotic and stupid as sometimes, not stupid, but like it looks stupid, but it's controlled chaos. And I hate to say that word, but stupid, but it's controlled chaos. Some people might not understand it, but that is who he is. And that is why we like to watch him fight. That is why he is good. He does unorthodox things. He pressures you. He pushes you. But Leon looked fantastic. His grappling honestly looked like he's a seasoned grappler. I can't wait to see what happens with Leon next because he's such a good guy. It seems like such a nice person. And I'm glad that this is happening to him. I know he's quiet. I know he's reserved, which is completely fine. I know fans like to see someone who's, talks the talk, likes to, flourish what they've done. But Leon's just, get the job done and keep moving, which I respect. But now, for the interesting part, we're going to talk about Matchmaking Mondays. And I have 5 fights for you guys that could be potential very, very interesting fights. First fight, looking down here, is going to be, I have Ciryl Gane against Alexander Volkov. Great fight for both these guys. Both fantastic strikers. Volkov's a tall guy. Ciryl Gane's one of our smaller heavyweights, around 235. Volkov's at the max weight limit. I'd love to see this match. I want to see how good Ciryl really is. Or if Volkov's making that push again for that title, maybe we're going to see Volkov beat Ciryl and move on for another title shot in the future with, I don't know what's going on with this division with Stipe, with John Jones, Tom Aspinall right now. We don't know. We'll see in the new year, and then after that, we'll talk about that again. But that is a fight that I think would be a fantastic option for sometime in the future. Another one I have is Jalen Turner and Rafael Fiziev. After a great performance from Turner on that short notice, I think he needs to either keep going up, keep pushing him because he has that momentum. Fiziev's on a little bit of a 2-fight loss, like a losing streak. I think this is a fantastic way for each guy to prove to them and to prove to everyone else who they really are. Is Fiziev really that cream of the crop in 155, or is he just, had some great fights and then, but just when you get to that level, it's just a little bit difficult? Or is Jalen Turner actually going to become something we're worried about because he is a big, tall, long 155er. I don't think anyone's been that big before because he's huge. Fantastic fight. Would be another fantastic matchup of striking. Great matchup all around. Next one, the obvious one, is we got Bilal and Leon Edwards, but that's not my pick. I think that's just what should happen. My pick is going to be Usman and Shavkat, and the winner gets the title shot again. Obviously, depending on what happens, this, that, but it's a big fight for Usman. Potentially, maybe his last fight at 170 if he loses. But if he wins, maybe he's right back in it again. Maybe Bilal beats Leon. Maybe Leon beats Bilal and we get to see a trilogy. I know what anyone says. I know he's beat him twice, but it's still something that you can't undermine. The same thing as Holloway. If there's someone who's just that good in that division, you still got to give them their right because they're winning their fights. They're going back up to the title, and that's that. But I think this fight is interesting. Because this really is going to show how good Shavkat is, especially against a seasoned champ, seasoned wrestler, a fantastic striker. His jab has gone absolutely unbelievable with Usman. Like, once again, I'd be foaming at the mouth if I saw this fight. This would be a fantastic fight. Both guys fought recently, so we can make that matchup right in the new year. Could maybe even be UFC 300. We don't know. We'll see. Next one, I have kind of it's 2 guys against each other, so 2 fights, but it's all one big form. It's for the 155-pound division. Obviously, in my opinion, Gaethje and Islam fight for the title. Gaethje deserves it. Gaethje doesn't want, maybe he'll take a big money fight or that, but I think Gaethje deserves the title fight against Islam. And then on the other side, we got Arman Sarukian and Charles Oliveira for a title eliminator. So whoever wins of those 2 guys would probably fight the winner of Islam and Gaethje. The only thing is the winner gets a title shot unless Gaethje KOs Islam, and then the rematch is going to be in order where Islam, wants to get back at him. That's complete fine. But I think if Islam wins, you have to give it to either Oliveira again if he beats Tsarukyan, or Tsarukyan if he beats Oliveira. I think that's obvious. That top of the cream of the crop, the guys there, you couldn't go wrong anyway. But this is just the way I'd like to see it. Maybe another UFC 300 thing. Big fights. We don't know. We'll see. And the last one I want to see is another striking match, because I love striking. I love to watch it. Don't get me wrong. I love grappling wrestling too. But Kai Kara-France and Brandon Royval. After Brandon's great performance this weekend or a couple days ago, would be a great striking match. Kai Kara's kind of been, up and down here and there. And I think this is a fantastic way to prove to himself, or to prove to everyone else, that he can keep up with the cream of the crop. Maybe Brandon Royval is going to be actually just that good. Another fight to look out for. These are all potential fights that could happen in the future. All these guys don't have any planned fights, have fought recently, so it's not too big of a discrepancy where someone has to wait a year and a half, someone has to wait 4 months. They're all potential fights. Let me know what you think of these fights. Let me know what other fights you'd like to see, and we'll talk next time. See you later.